Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you some Gothtober book recommendations. And if you know anything about this year's Gothtober, you will know that I can't give you specific recommendations for different prompts because of the fact that each person will have a different set of prompts. So instead what I'm going to do is give you some Gothic fiction recommendations for books that you can read, and all of these books that I'm going to be recommending are diverse, which means they'll either be by BIPOC authors or LGBT plus authors or disabled authors. I just really want to give you some diverse recommendations only, but of course there are plenty of other Gothic classics and Gothic books that you could also pick up if you would want to go down that route and read some non-diverse authors as well. So let's get right down to the books. The first book that I'm going to be recommending you is a personal favourite, and that is My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. And this one is a thriller book where we follow a sibling, and her sister is a serial killer. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's set in a country in Africa, and it's just following what it's like to be the sister of someone who's a serial killer and covering up for her, and the moral dilemma you have with yourself, whether you should put family first or whether you should notify the police so that you can put other people's safety first. And why I think this is such a good read for a readathon is the fact that the chapters are very short, they're very quick and easy to fly through, and I really like the plot twist to it as well. I just thought it was a very dark, haunting, Gothic feeling book, and it tackles some themes around beauty, around race, and I really liked the setting to it being in another country and it just being different from the stereotypical thriller that I see around. So I think that's a fantastic place to start if you're looking for Gothic read. If you want something else that is short and quick, I will also recommend you a graphic novel, and that is Monstress. And the first one in the series, we're following this girl who has a monster living within her, and she also discovers this mask. She is part of it from her mother who passed away, but she wants to find where the other parts are, and the monster inside her is very curious about this mask as well. And this is the graphic novel with the most stunning artwork that I have ever read or ever seen. The artwork is beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it's incredibly detailed. I have no idea how long it must take the artist to put it all together. But as well as that, we've got a disabled main character as she only has one arm, and we have a monster within her that wants to feed on people and sometimes comes out of her and she can't control it. So it's very dark, it's very haunting, but it's also such a fascinating story, and the first one can seem a little bit confusing. I will give you a heads up on that, but as you read your way through the series, it just gets better and better with each book. If you want to read an underrated book that definitely needs more love, that has Gothic vibes, I would recommend you Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho. And this is a novel that follows our main character. She's an adult, but she's kind of the post-university stage. She's currently unemployed and she's moved back in with her parents who've moved to another country. And they're in Asia, living there, and she's kind of living with some of the family that she's not close to. She can't speak the language and she's just trying to get by when she finds herself haunted by her dead grandmother, I believe, or maybe it's her great-grandmother. And her dead grandmother, the ghost that's haunting her, wants her to do something that has to do with a hotel tycoon being built upon a shrine for a god that she believes in. And this book is so wacky and weird and absolutely wonderful. It's dealing with monsters and gods, which are very dangerous and dark and bizarre and strange and different from other gods you've read, but it also goes into gang crime and some of the scary things that can happen there. Well, we've also got this main character who's queer and closeted, but also who's trying to find her own path, find her own way, what she wants to do in the future, land a job. So it's dealing with all of these elements. You've got ghosts, monsters, gods, and I think it's got enough of those dark elements for it to definitely fit into the Gothic genre, but it's wild and it's fun and its plot is absolutely thrilling. I've been trying to cover as many formats as possible with this recommendation video, so if you want a fun middle grade book that has the Gothic vibe, I'm going to recommend you Frankenstiltskin by Paulo Coelho, and this is a middle grade novel that combines the fairy tales of Frankenstein and Rumpelstiltskin to make something very, very new. It's got illustrations in it, and we're following a black taxidermist main character who gets caught up in a king who wants her to bring animals back to life, and she's trying to refuse some of the things that he wants him to do that seem impossible. And as she's trying to get them all done and all of these tasks done, she comes across this creature that will grant wishes, and she tries to outsmart it. And that is what this one is about. I think it does a very good job of combining the two fairy tales and having the dark vibe to it of a fairy tale gone wrong, while still threading in some really nice morals, a really fun story, and some really lovely illustrations to boot as well. We're going to take a step back, and I'm going to recommend you a classic for all of my classic readers who really enjoy something that's a bit older in style, and this is going to be a modern classic, so we're not going to take it back too far. And I do think that when it comes to talking about Gothic classics, people tend to mention the same books, which to be fair they are very well known, they can't be blamed for that, but I want to bring some of the Gothic fiction that black authors have written to the light. So I would recommend Beloved by Toni Morrison, which is a Gothic any which way you look at it. We're following a former slave who's just trying to move on and live her life, but she's haunted by the ghost of this baby of hers that has died, and she's trying to co-inhabit with this ghost and live with its demands while also living there with her daughter. And one day a former slave that she used to know stops by, and that's where the story goes and unravels. It's very Gothic in terms of the fact that we're following a main character who is being haunted by her past and haunted by some of her decisions, but also haunted very physically by this dead ghost baby. And it's just such a harrowing story. It's very, very emotional. It moves through time like liquid, like water. So you do have to pay a lot of attention because it talks about her present day and it talks about her past, and it delves between the two as if there's no difference between them, because truly there isn't. Your past is always impacting your present. It's beautifully, beautifully written. There are lines and scenes and sentences that I could recite to you because they stayed with me so strongly after the first time I read this book. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely a masterpiece, and it definitely fits into the Gothic canon. For all of my manga lovers, I do want to recommend Death Note, which I have read and really, really enjoyed. I think it's a very good Gothic book to read. It's following these gods that live in the world, and they write in their Death Note books, and if they write your name and the way you're going to die, that happens, and that's kind of how they control death in this world. But one of the gods gets bored and throws their Death Note down to earth. It gets picked up by a teenage boy, and he decides he's going to meet justice on criminals using his Death Note. It's fantastic, it's wonderful, and I've recommended it for previous Gothtober things. It's also a good anime to watch, but if you're looking for something slightly different, I've only watched, but I still recommend Tokyo Ghoul, and this is a manga and also an anime about Japan, and in this Japan, ghouls exist and ghouls feast on humans. So there's always been antagonism and a strong battle between the ghouls and the humans. But one day a boy kind of needs an operation because he's been harmed, and he gets ghoul limbs inserted into his body, so he's half ghoul, half human, and that makes him want to find a way to bring peace between the two warring sides of this battle that's been ongoing. That's what it's about, and I have to say Tokyo Ghoul really gives me found family vibes, but also it's showing struggles of identity and trying to understand yourself and understand people around you, which are totally themes that I'm very much into. It's one of my favourite animes, and I'm very much looking forward to reading the manga, so I can't personally recommend it, but if you want a Gothic manga that isn't Death Note, that's what I would recommend. I also want to recommend you 3 books that I've recently read, so if you've watched my August wrap up, you might have heard me talk about these, but they are absolutely fantastic and definitely ones I would recommend for October. So first we have Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Machado, and this is a short story collection of Gothic lesbian short stories, which are just as fantastic as it sounds. They are full of beautiful, beautiful writing, a dark, haunting Gothic atmosphere, and each story is incredibly unique and its own and just different from all the rest. They leave you thinking about them once you've finished. They are incredibly smart and well written, and I can't recommend these short stories more. If you're looking for some young adult horror, I definitely think you should give White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson a try. And this one follows a teen who's in this family that are just newly together. There's a mom, there's a stepdad and step siblings, so she's trying to get used to living with this new family, and they move to a new neighborhood and live in this very run down house, which is massive, but maybe the house doesn't want them to be there. So you've got a sentient house that's trying to get rid of its occupants, and they're also finding out that in this town nothing is quite what it seems, and there is a larger dark force at play there as well. I thought it did the haunted sentient house element incredibly well. I really liked how it talked about gentrification and the town at large and how that could become a horror element in and of itself. The love interest and the relationship was cute, and I really liked the development that our main character goes through. It's not linear in any way whatsoever, but it was fascinating to watch. And then last but not least, I also want to recommend this graphic novel that I loved, and that is M is for Monster by Talia Dutton. And this is a retelling of Frankenstein, where one sister cobbles together pieces of her dead sister and tries to bring her back to life. What she doesn't know is that she doesn't quite achieve what she sets out to do. Instead, the being that she brings back to life has its own consciousness, and it's not exactly her sister, but whenever this being looks into the mirror, the being can see the ghost of the sister who used to occupy the body that has been pieced together for her. And it's got all of the Frankenstein feels, such as identity, trying to figure out who you are when your creator doesn't quite love the thing that it has created, and also concepts of beauty and self-discovery, which I really liked reading about, but it's got an added layer of grief and also this sisterhood relationship that's very strong. So that's the ways in which it makes the story a bit unique. It's got a beautiful green colour palette throughout it, and it is just such a great read. Definitely a top pick for October for me. And although those are all the recommendations I've got to give you, there are so many more brilliant Gothic books by diverse authors out there for you to try. Some of the ones that I want to mention that are on my TBR, and I really hope that I get the chance to read soon, are Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler, of course the Tokyo Ghoul manga series that I mentioned before, also Witches Steeped in Gold. So there are plenty of books for you to choose from, and you should definitely go out there and see what you can find, and please do consider reading some diverse authors for your Gothtober reading in October. And that's all I have for this video. Please let me know in the comment section down below your favourite Gothic book that's by a diverse author. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!